The Chewy and Chompy radio show. Oh, I first read about it in Malcolm's Outliers. Yeah, that's a great book. I remember that one, like 10 years ago or so. So it was quite great. But the one thing that really stood out to me was him mentioning the brick test. Yeah, I kind of remember that one. Right, and what we're just looking for in that is, not who's, so smart who, knows the most. It's just, whose mind is the most free thinking, let's say. Right, where they ask you to just kind of, list in 60 seconds, like all the things that a brick is good for, right? Well, yes, that's the one. Yeah, and, some people kind of get all caught up in wondering, like, well, what kind of brick, like a red brick, like, gray concrete block brick, things like that, right? Well, it is, some people have a difficult time even starting the test, and it's because they're thinking that there's a right answer, Yeah, so most of the lists are things like, to make a brick patio or build a brick oven or, things like that, right? Right, very functional things. But then there's like a second tier where, you run out of, all the things that are functionally good to do with a brick. And, some people stop right there. But, others find a more creative avenue. Right, like, smashing the window on your, ex's car when he cheats on you, things like that, right? Right, yes. Smashing things is usually where people go next. Or some people write things like, using them as door stops or, holding down the stubborn corner of the bed sheet when you're making the bed, things like that. And then tell me about that third tier again. I'm not even remembering that one. Right, yes, and then the people often just decide, and this is what we're looking for, is that they decide, my mind can just go wild with this, like it's just a brick, and it doesn't tell me what it's good for, I'm the human being, and I'll tell the brick that it's good for whatever I think it is. So, we're looking for people to, go from the phase of, oh, sure, bricks are good for patios and brick ovens and buildings and things like that, to, smashing car windows of your exes when they cheat on you, or, holding down the stubborn corner of the bedsheet. But then eventually you cross a threshold where you just realize that the brick is good for whatever you like it to be. And you might write something like, bricks are good for making brick sandwiches for brick eating monsters. Okay, right, yeah, like you said, it's just good for whatever we say it is because it's just a brick and it doesn't tell us, we tell it, right? Right, and it's an excellent example of the freedom of a child's mind in some sense. I once watched a little boy playing with a toy water gun, but he didn't seem to care for it much as a toy water gun because he had, flipped it on its side and saw that, the little stopper that holds the water in kind of lined up like an eye, and the handle of the pistol kind of looked like the snout of a hippopotamus, and I quite agreed, and he came up and said, oh, it's a hippo, and I was able to see the hippo, and he smiled as we both agreed, yes, yes, there's a hippo there, and he played with it as a hippopotamus, quite happily the rest of the day. Yeah, yeah, we kind of lose that, right? The freedom of our childhood mind because we think there's a right answer we're supposed to be chasing, right? Quite right. The right answer is to let your mind be free and, see the world as you like it.